we'll have a very interesting 1 hour to address a very pertinent topic, artificial intelligence. The webinar is organized by Councilsme and in conjunction with InterraIT. Councilsme is Council for Small and Medium Enterprises. It has been existent for almost 10 years. It comprises of corporate and individuals who as members are committed toward promoting the cause of MSME. We do the peer meetings, knowledge sharing sessions, and different webinars, like the one we are doing today, AI in marketing. For those people who don't know InterraIT, Inter Information Technologies is a California-based company, software and service consulting company. We are based in, headquartered in US, but you also got a office in California, Europe, India, both locations. Okay. Now back to the topic. The term artificial intelligence, surprisingly, is coined by a gentleman called John McCarthy in 1956. He is known as the father of artificial intelligence. He later developed a programming language called Lisp, which becomes the most popular programming language used in AI research. During my time in US in 1970s and 80s, we are fascinated with AI. In fact, I took a 1 semester class in one university in the evening course on AI. I got a certificate to boost that, prove that. But that 40 years since that time frame, AI has got a very limited use in business. It has got a mostly confined to research and defense establishment. There must be some reason behind it. However, during the last 10 years, AI has become very popular in business. Today, it is the hottest technology. I expect that next 10 years, AI will have a profound impact on businesses and our day-to-day life. You have already seen Siri, you have already seen the Alex and other stuff. We have an expert speaker, Joya Scarlata, with us, who will educate us on artificial intelligence and its impact on marketing. Joya received her undergraduate and graduate studies from Boston University. She later received MBA from Jackwell's Management Institute and was awarded Wells Scholar by ranking in top 5% of her class. She started her professional career working for Senator Ted Kennedy. Later, she worked for a reputed think tank as an analyst in Washington, D.C. She has been working for InterraIT for the last 8 years in digital marketing group based in California. At present, she is the director of digital marketing. I would invite Joya Scarlata. Joya, all yours.
Thank you everyone. Let me just take a few seconds to share my slides. So please bear with me, and I apologize in advance if my slides, I was having some technical difficulties earlier. So hopefully everyone can see my slides.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Yes, we can see.
Yes, Chair.
So thank you once again to the Councilsme for inviting me here and to speak on the topic of the role of artificial intelligence in marketing. So I'm really happy and pleased to be here. Again, thank you to those in the audience for attending, and I hope that everyone is having a great week so far, and most importantly is staying safe and healthy. So once again, for those who may not know me, my name is Joya Scarlata. And as mentioned before, I am the Director of Digital Marketing here at InterraIT. Before I get started with the presentation, I wanted to talk about and elaborate on my own personal interest in artificial intelligence, as I consider myself a little bit of an AI enthusiast. So I can't really pinpoint the exact moment where I wanted to learn more about artificial intelligence, but I can say that it emerged from my interest in learning more about chatbots. So as I started to learn more about chatbots and what they do, what they mean, I fell down this rabbit hole where I wanted to learn more about artificial intelligence as a whole. And more specifically, I was interested in learning about how AI was playing such a transformative role in changing industries across the board, to include marketing, to include sales. They're no exception. And AI, as we know, is such an expansive field. There's so much out there. So I have to admit that I'm still learning on a daily basis, but I'm really happy to be here to share what I've learned so far. So for purposes of today, for today's presentation, I will be talking about the following topics. I'll give an overview of artificial intelligence as a whole. I'll discuss a few key AI trends that is transforming marketing. And then I'll end it by giving examples of how certain companies are utilizing artificial intelligence in their own marketing strategies. So let's get started. Before we really get into the nitty-gritty and into the specifics, I wanted to first take a step back and address the following question. And that is, how can we define artificial intelligence? It's such a, like I said before, it's such an expansive field. So how do we go about defining it? So firstly, whether we recognize it or realize it or not, we interact, almost all of us interact with a form of artificial intelligence almost every day. So let me give you a couple of examples. When you say go to Google and you start typing a search term, it gives you a list of recommendations from where you can choose from. So this is an example of artificial intelligence in action. Or take the example of voice assistants such as Siri or Google Home. Whenever you interact with these voice assistants, it is using natural language processing driven by artificial intelligence to provide answers and to interact with you. And for the final example, look at Google, or when you use Apple Maps. Whenever it calculates the quickest route, say from point A to point B, or informs you of traffic or accidents ahead, that again is artificial intelligence in play. So it's pretty fascinating stuff, right? So when you look at these examples in mind, let's go back to the fundamental question of what is artificial intelligence? How can it be defined? There's a number of definitions out there, but I would say in the most simple, non-technical explanation that I can give, artificial intelligence at its essence, it's the ability of a computer or a machine to act, to learn, and to think like a human. So it's as simple as that. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper and talk about how artificial intelligence can be broken down. It can be broken down into a few categories. So the first is artificial narrow intelligence, or what it's known as weak AI. So artificial narrow intelligence, this refers to a computer or to a machine's ability to perform a singular task extremely well. So this is actually the artificial intelligence that we see around us. So the examples that I had provided earlier, they're examples of ANI. And these types of systems, they actually perform tasks in real time, but they are narrow intelligence in the sense that they pull from very specific data sets. The next type is artificial general intelligence, or strong AI. So this is a concept where a machine with general intelligence, they can mimic human cognition, human intelligence, and behavior. So in other words, this is where AI can think, can understand, and act like a human. But we haven't really gotten to this point yet, nor the next type, which is artificial super intelligence. And again, like artificial general intelligence, this is a completely hypothetical scenario where machines become completely self-aware and they
मेरा
surpass
वीडियो मैं सोया हुआ मेरा फोटो आ गया मैं आराम से सोया हुआ
human intelligence and ability. So I'm not really sure
कोई
we will
बात
get
नहीं
to
इतना
this
सुबह
point
इंडिया से चल रहा है मैं सुबह सुबह
in a very long time. So just to illustrate how widespread and how transformative artificial intelligence is and how it's changing the world around us, I wanted to highlight a few key statistics. And there's a number of statistics out there, but just wanted to illustrate a few. One is that it is predicted that the global AI market is expected to reach close to 60 billion by 2025, so in about 5 years. Not only that, according to some respondents, around 84% of global organizations, they believe that by implementing AI in their strategy, it will give them a competitive advantage over others, over their competitors. And I mentioned voice assistants before. So it's also predicted that the number of AI-powered voice assistants will reach 8 billion in 3 years, so by 2023. So you can't really argue that of the staying power of artificial intelligence. It's going to continue to be mainstream. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Now, before I jump in and discuss how artificial intelligence is transforming marketing, I wanted to emphasize one thing, and that AI can be viewed as an umbrella term. So there's a number of subsets that fall underneath AI, and a number of people, they categorize it differently, but I just wanted to point out that there's fields such as robotics, neural networks, deep learning, and I won't, for the purposes of time, I won't really go into detail talking about the different subsets, but I just wanted to point out one, and that is machine learning. And machine learning is an incredibly important field to understand, as that it focuses on analyzing and interpreting patterns and structures in data to allow for reasoning, to allow for learning and decision making. So the key word here is data. So at its essence, machine learning is a way to quickly label and analyze huge data sets. So when you look at artificial intelligence being implemented in a marketing strategy, it's most likely going to be fueled by a machine learning algorithm. Now, to really understand the value of how AI can bring into a marketing strategy, I really want all of us to take a step back and focus on what it's like to be a consumer of today. Firstly, it can be actually very, very overwhelming. We are overwhelmed with the number of choices of products and services. And not only that, we can buy whatever we want, whenever we want. So we have this round-the-clock shopping. So as consumers, we are actually more empowered and we are more in control of our own shopping experiences. So we can dictate the shopping experience, which means that for businesses, it's really important to emphasize that consumer journey and experience from start to finish. Not only that, consumers are more informed than ever. So they're taking the time to absorb information to absorb content from all over, from websites to social media, which in turn makes them have more informed decisions on the products and the services that they are buying. So with the consumers in mind, that they can buy whatever they want, whenever they want, and that they're in control of their shopping experience.
The mission sector.
For marketers, it can be a challenge. So the question really becomes, how can we as marketers cut through the noise and reach that specific consumer? So on a very high level, 10,000-foot view, there's also a number of challenges that marketers face that include, but are not limited to, help drive revenue growth. There's pressure to strengthen and enhance the organization's brand image. Drive traffic to the website and social media challenges. And not only that, at the end of the day, it really boils down to understanding your consumer and their ever-changing needs and expectations. So when you look at marketing at whole, whether it's content marketing, email marketing, or social media marketing, to be successful, you really need to have an in-depth understanding and knowledge of your consumers' needs, preferences, and expectations. And not only that, you have to act on that knowledge effectively and quickly. So with all of this in mind, where does artificial intelligence come into the picture? How can it help with marketing? In fact, what exactly is artificial intelligence marketing? So in a nutshell, AI marketing is a process or a way of utilizing data models or algorithms to generate actionable insights for marketers. So with AI, marketers can leverage data, again, that key word is data, to anticipate and to predict the consumer's next move along their consumer journey. So there are a number of areas or trends where AI can help improve a marketing strategy, and I'll just touch upon a few of them. AI can help bridge the gap between marketing and sales. It can help with real-time personalization, with predictive analytics and forecasting, and with content generation. So I'll just take a little bit of time to explain each of them. So to start off with the first, in some organizations, there can be a misalignment between sales and marketing, which can be common. So in some organizations, sales and marketing can act as separate functions or departments. So they can operate in silos. And when this happens, I'm not saying this is in all cases, but there can be a lack of communication between departments, which in turn can hurt the organization and ultimately the bottom line. So in one way, AI can help bridge or close this gap between marketing and sales is that by analyzing, there are tools out there where it can analyze and agree on qualified leads and accounts from the start. So with predictive analytics and a number of algorithms out there, like I said before, it makes it easier for sales professionals and for marketers to analyze leads and really determine where that lead is in the buying process, so they can really pinpoint those customers that are more likely to convert. With lead scoring, this is basically where you're objectively ranking a sales lead against another. So again, it really helps sales and marketing identify where this prospect is in the buying process and if they're likely to convert. There are also a number of AI predictive content tools out there, which can help marketers come up with very highly personalized content, and in turn can work with the sales team to engage with prospects and with customers. So in short, AI can help streamline the process and enhance the cooperation between marketing and between sales. When you look at real-time personalization, look at the global volume of consumer data and collected. It is growing exponentially by the minute. So with all of this data available, it's actually easier and imperative for marketers to create these hyper-personalized campaigns that acts on the needs and expectations of their consumer segments. So AI-driven marketing applications actually make this easier for marketers and for businesses alike to communicate to their target markets by, again, using predictive analytics and by using behavior-based algorithms. So I just wanted to touch upon a few use cases on how personalized marketing comes into play. So the first is ad targeting. When you look at advertising, there's actually a ton of data that we can work with from advertising platforms. So this includes click-through rates, demographic information, bid levels. So with this data available, it makes sense that AI is almost a perfect fit for advertising. So there's a number of AI-powered ad tools that can detect patterns at scale in advertising, which in turn can predict changes to campaigns and help marketers improve performances against a specific key performance indicator or KPI. When you look at, moving on, when you look at product recommendations, now we experience product recommendations all the time. So when you look at Amazon, when you buy something, it gives a list of products that afterwards that you may like. So this is artificial intelligence at work. And there's a number of product engineering engines out there, recommendation and engines out there that offer customers products that are tailored to their preferences. So for businesses, these type of product recommendation engines, they offer the potential to allow for increased revenue through retargeting, through repeat purchases, and by essentially creating active buyers and loyal customers. These engines, they also run on predictive analytics, again, which in essence recommendations based on the patterns that they see. The final use case I wanted to point out is chatbots. And they provide a number of personalization opportunities that can interact and engage with customers in a variety of exciting ways. What also chatbots can really elevate and really enhance that customer experience. And I know most of us have interacted with some form of a chatbot in one way or another. So there was a makeup company that I had bought products from, and occasionally through Facebook Messenger, they will send me messages informing me of sales, of new products or discounts. And these messages are so realistic that it's very hard to differentiate whether you're talking to a real person or to a chatbot. I would say out of all the trends out there, predictive analytics and forecasting is probably one of the most important ones. As mentioned before, just wanted to emphasize, consumers have a number of choices out there and they can buy, again, whenever they want. So for a business to really stay competitive, to stay ahead, they almost have to be this fortune teller where they have to predict future trends and they have to stay ahead of consumer trends, behaviors, and preferences. So this is where predictive analytics can come into play. It's a form of analysis where it leverages AI and machine learning to comb through a variety of data sets and to help predict future behaviors. So in regards to use cases, one is that predictive analytics can help in optimizing marketing campaigns. So again, with the data at hand, a marketer can figure out which customer segments and which audiences can be most effective to reach, and in turn create actionable insights. In addition, as mentioned before, it really helps predict that customer behavior and future behaviors. And predictive analytics can also allow marketers to qualify and to prioritize leads, to figure out which customers are close to converting. Finally, the last trend that I wanted to touch on is content generation. Now, content marketing as a whole has been changing, and there's this increased demand for this hyper-personalized content, which can be a bit of a challenge for marketers. Artificial intelligence is actually reshaping the content marketing landscape by providing data-driven feedback and insights to content creators. So in fact, artificial intelligence has led to this new field known as content intelligence. So the American Marketing Association, they define content intelligence as systems and softwares which transform content data and business data into actionable insights for content strategy. So in other words, it's using data to provide insights to content that allows marketers to better improve and optimize their marketing strategy, and also to make their content more effective. AI can also help with something that's called content profiling. Now, this is where an AI system basically conducts a content audit of your website, of existing posts in your social media quickly and effectively. And in turn, it lets the marketer know which content pieces perhaps lack depth and how to improve on them. So as a result, marketers can get a better understanding which of their content, which posts contribute to a better engagement and help produce more leads. With topic inspiration, there's actually a number of AI-based predictive analytics systems out there, which can analyze, can see audience sentiment and reactions for different topics. Again, this gives content marketers a better understanding of subjects allow for a better performance. So I wanted to now move on examples and how the examples I'm providing, they're actually of big brands, but I think they're pretty fascinating how they incorporate AI into their own marketing and business strategies. So, you know how I touched upon product recommendation engines before? Amazon is one of the first to really pioneer that personalized shopping experience, shopping recommendations. And these algorithms that they use have become only increasingly sophisticated in time, where the suggestions that are provided, they're not only based on past purchases, they're based on a consumer's browsing history and other factors. In addition, Amazon uses artificial intelligence to drive what it's called dynamic pricing. So dynamic pricing is where, for example, they will lower a price to allow for more sales when needed and will increase prices when demand is high on a certain product. So dynamic pricing, in essence, allows for optimal sales and revenue automatically. Amazon has also opened a number of checkout free physical stores in a few US cities, to include San Francisco and Seattle. So what it does is these stores use AI powered sensors and cameras, which can tell which item a consumer has picked up and will charge them automatically when they walk out of the store with this item on their Amazon Go app. So I think it's pretty fascinating stuff that Amazon is doing. Another example, and I think this is actually my favorite, is Starbucks. And Starbucks is one of the best examples out there of a brand utilizing AI successfully to drive sales, to drive loyalty, and help service their customers. So when you look at their loyalty program, My Starbucks Rewards, there's a number of case studies out there that just talk about this loyalty program, and for a right reason. One reason why it's so popular is due to their highly personalized offers that they provide to their customers. So in the past, Starbucks' existing CRM tools were really not able to support personalized offers at the rate that the Starbucks marketing team desired. So to get around this issue, Starbucks deployed an AI-based personalized offer platform. So by using this platform, Starbucks was able to take disparate data sources, say from store, transaction, and product information, to really help deliver that hyper-personalized offer. It's also using machine learning capabilities to individualize and to optimize offer selections for each reward member. So by using artificial intelligence, Starbucks is creating millions of personalized offers that are delivered in real time across a number of channels, to include email, to include their mobile apps, and push notifications. The final example that I wanted to provide, and this is somewhat of an older example, but I thought it's fascinating and I wanted to share, is Nike. So back in 2017, Nike launched a platform which allowed customers to design their own sneakers in store. So by using augmented reality, the designs were printed on the sneakers and available to the customer in just 90 minutes. So this experience was incredibly popular for Nike. It not only drove sales, but it allowed Nike to really collect data about the customer preference. So by using machine learning algorithms, Nike was able to deliver personalized content and personalized product recommendations and marketing messages to their target segments. Now, before I end, instead of giving a framework on really how to get started with artificial intelligence in marketing, I wanted to actually take a different technique and discuss a few points to consider before you get started with artificial intelligence in marketing. One is, while AI, it's a buzzword, it's everywhere, we interact with it on a daily basis, it is not necessarily for everyone. So I read a while back in this Harvard Business Review article that AI should help you drive your business strategy, but it should not be your entire strategy. And I absolutely agree with this point. So for organizations that want to get started with artificial intelligence, it's really important to have a absolutely clear strategy on how you want to implement AI going forward. And with that being said, it's important to take incremental, almost baby steps on when implementing AI. So for example, I would recommend starting off with a pilot project. If you want to improve customer service maybe at a very small level, start off with a chatbot and see how that works for you. See the value that it brings, and then you can go from there and take perhaps bigger steps going forward. Now, as mentioned before, artificial intelligence, they really feed off large data sets. And AI is only useful, say in marketing, if marketers actually incorporate the insights, the analytics into their decision making. Otherwise, there's no point. And finally, I realized that not all organizations have this luxury, but to really have this strong AI, it requires to have strong data sets. So I understand this effort requires time, but in the long run, it will help customers or companies with long-term success. So with that being said, I just wanted to wrap things up, and I wanted to thank the Councilsme for having me talk about artificial intelligence and how it can be used in marketing strategies. I really hope everyone found this presentation useful. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you had any questions or you wanted to keep this discussion going. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me if you search Joya Scarlata. And once again, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the week ahead. Thank you.
Pinaki, you are on mute. So that is not AI. Thank you, Joya, for what I would call a very insightful session on artificial intelligence. It was a brilliant presentation. Particularly, I liked that your slides were not crowded like we see in technical presentations. So it came out very well. And I felt absolutely connected with, some of the real life examples which you spoke about, the Amazon example. And as I saw in the chat box, one of the audience members has mentioned, like, it's a wonderful tour de force. And that is exactly what is my feeling. And let's now move on to the next section for today's session. So we are at 6:46 as I could see. So maybe around 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes we have for the Q&A. So through chat and through other mechanisms on Facebook and all, we have been getting some questions. So let me take up some of them and see if you could address those.
Sure, I'll do my best answering the questions.
So I'll take up a question from MK Pathak,
Sure.
who's the co-chairman of IAGCC. So that's the Indo-American Global Chambers. And so his question is, how do we differentiate between the thousands of mushrooming digital marketing companies and the real ones? So how do we differentiate between the real and the other companies like which are there?
I mean, I guess this question can also be pertain to any other organization, and say there's a number of IT services companies, and how do you differentiate between one or the other? So I think when you look at digital marketing companies, it really boils down to the value that they can provide to their customers. And as a customer, what are you looking for, and what that company can provide and how they can differentiate. So bottom line, I think it really boils down to value. I understand, yeah, the question is valid. There's a number of companies out there. And again, it's how do you cut through that noise? How do you reach that customer? And it's like an IT service company, like a marketing company, it's about providing value, and how can you provide good, I guess, content, good products and services efficiently and on time. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Joya, for answering that question. And now I will move on to a question, so which is again from California, US, from Arvind Perumal. So this is he likes to hear about ideas on how AI can help in business development. So this is about business development, how you target the right market segments, how you can help in building a prospect pipeline. So are there companies which are doing that using AI for business development?
Yeah. So I didn't really get a chance to look at AI in sales, but that's a whole different field, and that's actually pretty interesting. But there are a lot of overlap between how AI is transforming sales and marketing. And I touched a little bit upon on this and how AI is closing that bridge between marketing and sales. I would say that by using machine learning algorithms, by using AI tools out there, it's all about, I think when you building a prospect pipeline, it can help really, as I mentioned before, determine where that prospect or where that consumer is in that buying journey. And when you look at, say, B2B business, the sales pipeline, that business pipeline is actually a little bit longer compared to a B2C pipeline. So when you look at a prospect at the start, it takes a little bit more time for them to convert into a possible customer. I talked about a little bit on lead scoring. So there are AI tools out there that can help rank a sales lead against another. So you can get a better understanding of, again, where they are and if they are likely to convert. And at the end of the day, I think AI really can detect patterns, as mentioned before, in their behaviors, in their interest, and whether it's worth going after a certain prospect over another. So I hope that answers it, but I know that, like I mentioned before, AI and sales is a whole different field, but for Arvind, I'll definitely come back to him and provide him more information on that. But hopefully that answers the question.
So thank you very much, Joya. Wonderful. Now I would call in, the moderator for today's session, Ashok. So Ashok, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So I believe Ashok also has got a couple of what you call the moderator's questions. So Ashok, maybe you could take up a few questions and then again, I'll come back.
Okay. Joya, thanks very much. It's a wonderful presentation, hopefully informative. I learned quite a lot, although I mentioned in my opening speech. In the 80s, when I studied in US, AI was the hottest topic. So people thought that people are thinking AI today at that time frame. So I spent almost 6 months to take a class on the AI, a certificate. Just a certificate. Now, AI started in 1956 when John McCarthy started 1956. Since then, there are lots of excitement in 70s and 80s. 70s I was in US, 1780s and 90s also. But then AI was generally stayed basically used by the NASA and the defense industry. Just not too much used in their business community, industry community. Today, right now, I see that AI was widely used by corporate world and US and elsewhere. And I do believe that some of the example you gave it to us, which basically says that. What do you think can be the reason behind it? What's your opinion, the reason behind it?
That it's becoming more widely
used today. Yeah.
I'll try to answer this on a very high level overview. As you mentioned before, it's very interesting. Artificial intelligence, as we know, it's not a new concept. And in fact, when you look at Alan Turing, he's widely credited for the idea of machines and the fact that they can think with the Turing test. And I would say that AI started to have a wider impact in the early stages of the 21st century. And maybe people might disagree with me on this. I think big data and the fact and how you can utilize data and analyze it, I think that was one of the primary drivers for the widespread use of AIs. As there are more and more tools and more algorithms out there in the market that is able, and you know, at its essence, AI, like I said, it's about really detecting patterns and behaviors, looking at data sets, and how do you make use of that? How do you make sense of that? So I think as the technology is advancing over time, industries and companies are starting to see the value. You can automate processes, you can lower costs. So I think it's, like I said, I think big data has been a huge contributor to the widespread use of AI.
Thanks. I think one of my reasons behind it, I think of that one, and I'm sure there are lots of people, that today time to market is the most important thing. Time to market basically drives it. It's just not so much in the past. Time to market and the cost. Those are the most important thing. Okay. Next question. If one wants to learn application of AI in marketing, suppose I want to start it, right?
Right.
So lots of people, they want to start it. Where he or she will start? How they will start? Any books and articles you recommend?
Yeah,
No,
great question. I think that firstly, before you jump into AI and marketing, I would say that if for those who might not have a general concept of artificial intelligence or want to learn more about AI as a whole, I would recommend reading books on just the general topic of artificial intelligence. So I think one of the best books out there is one called Artificial Intelligence, A Modern Approach, and I can write it in the chat. It's by Stuart Russell and Peter Norvig. There's another book, this is more on machine learning, and it's called Machine Learning, the New AI. There's also a number of free courses out there. So there's a free course, I forgot the name, but it's by Andrew Nigg from Stanford. It's on just artificial intelligence as a whole. And that's, I think, a great course to really get an overview of AI, the subsets, and how it's transforming. Now, regarding AI and marketing, I would say one of the best resources out there is there's this website called the Marketing AI Institute. And for those, I would highly recommend it. They have a number of books, articles, and webinars out there just on this topic. And I think that it's a great resource for people to check out.
Okay, that's terrific. Maybe Pinaki, you can probably send the list to all the participants.
Okay,
At least to me also.
Well, I'll share it too, because anyway, we from Councilsme, we do share a recording of the video. So along with that, I can share anything which Joya has got. She's promised. We can share that link.
Sure. Okay. You know, we just recently here, we just went to IPL, and there's a huge marketing. They spend billions of dollars on marketing. And that's what called conventional marketing. Do you think that next 2-3 years, what will be the role of AI in marketing? So do you think that people who spend so much money, will it replace the conventional marketing to a certain extent, to a large extent?
So I think artificial intelligence will continue to play this transformative role based on the trends that I talked about. I think, though, I would say that when you look at B2B marketing, I think that they're a little bit slower. When I haven't seen too many examples out there yet of B2B companies really utilizing AI to the extent that B2C companies are. I don't think that artificial intelligence will replace marketing per se. At the end of the day, marketing and even sales, they require a level of creativity that even the most, I think, advanced machine, they cannot replace what a human can do, that creativity. But I do see that artificial intelligence will make certain processes, say certain repetitive tasks, more streamlined, more automated, which in turn will, I think, free up a marketer's role into focusing on other areas. So I don't think AI in itself will replace marketing. I think it will be interesting to see. I think the role of a marketer may shift a little bit. Maybe there'll be more pressure for them to be a little bit more creative, focus on the bigger picture. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how marketing evolves in time.
Pinaki, can I have one last more question? One
Yeah,
question.
sure. Like we are
Okay.
at 7, so we have around
Okay.
15 minutes. So
Okay. You know, with the many new innovations, that technology often gets ahead of business ability to address the very ethical, social, and legal concern involved. With AI, any issues become all the more pressing as these systems increasingly become the face of company brands. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said once, "Your brand is what other people say about you when you are not in the room." Like to hear your comments on ethical and societal concerns that's prevailing today.
I think the ethical and the concerns with AI, I think it's definitely one to be addressed. I think for one, there is this concern that AI will replace jobs. And I can see, I mean, I don't want, that can lead into a huge debate, but I can see that maybe some of the, as I mentioned before, AI can play a role in automating, say, repetitive tasks. So say if you look at, say, some like a field in HR, maybe some of the more administrative tasks and whatever AI can help streamline. So I think that it's possible some jobs may be replaced or redefined in a different way. I think there's also, again, I'll just use example of AI and HR. I think there's also concerns of bias. So if you're, say, for example, using an AI tool to screen resumes, you cannot help, I mean, there's always going to be that human error, that human bias that I don't know if a machine or an algorithm can really address. So I think, yeah, there are, I mean, you can't really ignore these ethical tools and concerns. And then I think, again, that fear as these tools become more and more advanced, I don't know. I mean, it's all a little bit of a scary thought to see if these tools can mimic human intelligence abilities. Is almost like in the future, how do you know if you're actually interacting with a machine or a human behind a computer? So I don't know. Things to keep in back of mind.
Pinaki, all yours.
thank you, Ashok, for those very insightful questions. So what we'll do is, because see, there is a premium on time, and I think I've got a list of around 7, 8 questions.
Oh.
So take up 2 or 3 because each question again will be taking some time. So I'll take up a question from Ranjan Goho from. So this is again from the US, from California. So the question is, by using various analytics such as predictive, prescriptive analytics, we are already modeling customer behavior fairly accurately.
Right.
How does AI really help, and what is the value of AI here?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And as mentioned in the presentation, and as Ranjan mentioned before, there are a number of AI tools out there that can predict a customer behavior based on their, say, buying habits, based on historical data. And so by using AI, just in a pure marketing sense, it allows brands, again, to predict future customer behavior towards their products and towards their services, which in turn helps boost sales. AI, I think, can provide the biggest value by providing insights into the future. So when you look at a customer, it helps when you can predict their likely future behavior. And again, it can help with delivering personalized customer experiences, as well as when you look at sales, say, a customer acquisition. So hopefully that answers the question.
So thank you, Joya, for wonderfully handling that question. And thank you, Ranjan, for such a great question. So what I'll do now is, there are some questions which are about how AI can be used in different sectors. So
Okay.
I'll combine them. I'll acknowledge that the people have asked the question. So there is a question from, Mr. Rajesh. So who talks about, how AI can be used by project-based companies who are doing B2B. So it could be project-based means IT projects. It could be some other projects also. Anybody who is into B2B. Then a similar kind of question, like which is there, how it can be used in education and placement of students. So these are the kind of, so there are 3-4 such questions. So who have mentioned probably there in the industries which they come from. And in 1 or 2 cases, so there is somebody who has asked about cottage industries. So where, the people themselves are not so much tech aware, they are not technology aware. So how can AI play a role there? So is AI actually even meant for them? So I'm just combining these 3 or 4 questions, 3 or 4 people's questions, irrespective of the sector. So someone wants to adopt AI. How do they do that? Like, what value where do they start? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I actually, regarding the different industries, I would like to take the time to address each of them offline, because I wanted to, regarding, say, AI and education, I actually wrote something on this. So I wanted to do due diligence on providing a very informed answer for each of the questioners. So I'll address them offline, but I think it's a valid question on how you can get started with AI. Again, as I mentioned before, it's not necessarily for everyone. I think that for some companies, there's this what they call fear of missing out. So when you see one company implementing AI and getting a lot of benefit, then maybe a company may rush into it. And I think it's very important to see what your business need is. AI can provide value in, say, lowering cost, improving value, improving benefits. In fact, maybe some companies, they can actually start an entirely new business segment. So it's a matter of, I think, just going back to the basics. What is your business need? What are you trying to solve? So again, going back to the customer service, are you trying to say, if you're fielding a lot of questions from your customers, is it a matter of, say, implementing a chat bot so you can answer these questions around the clock? So again, I would start off with a pilot project. There's a number of AI vendors out there, so really do your due diligence and research and see which tool or which algorithm can meet that business need. But regarding the industries, yeah, I'll take the time and answer each of them offline.
So, thank you, Joya, for that offer. So if anybody has got any particular, sector-specific questions, so Joya will be happy to research and answer that thing. I'm sorry, I could not, recognize the person who asked, a couple of these, the questions on the cottage industry and all, because you are named as iPhone, so I could not take your name. But thank you anyway, Rajesh and iPhone for the question. Now, couple of questions from what it looks like from marketing people. So I've got a question from Tanvir Kataria. So which is how to start AI in marketing. So probably you touched upon some of that in your slide 23, how exactly you start, do a pilot. So
Right.
That was one. And another one, I'm just combining it with this, which is how is AI different from CRM? So marketing people are also doing CRM. So how is it different from CRMs?
I would say, AI is different, I guess, in the sense that I feel like, sorry if I'm repeating, it's more about, I think, the tools out there are a little bit more advanced than I would say the CRM tools. So I don't know if this answers. So for example, when I was talking about topic inspiration, I didn't give this example, but HubSpot. Now HubSpot is a CRM tool. So they actually provide an option within it for that it will analyze, say, your content and then provide, say, different subsections of, say, if your topic is what they provide, say, inbound marketing, they will analyze the audience sentiment, they will analyze the reactions, and then give you a list of subtopics based on your overall topic. So maybe inbound marketing, maybe the subtopic is, what is inbound marketing? And then provide the marketer a better sense of, okay, these are the topics that may get more engagement, possibly more leads. So I would say that the AI tools out there, they're a little bit more advanced based on the area that you're looking for.
So thank you, Jaya. So we kind of have only around 2 or 3 minutes left. So what I'll do is I will just mention one question which you can answer offline later on. What we can do is we can share this with the people. So which is about, so this is Nitin Pahilwani. Please share some basic tools or web apps which are easy to use for beginners. So I presume this is about learners. So maybe something you spoke about earlier. You mentioned about a book or
Sure.
something. So maybe this we can share with with Nitin. And one last question before we close the Q&A. So this is from Ronojoy Chakraborty from Kolkata. So he mentions about, I think in marketing, human touch or emotional quotient plays a very important role. How AI helps to improve or analyze the emotional quotient in digital marketing framework?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And as mentioned before, AI, I don't think is going to replace marketing as a whole, because there is that emotional sense, that human feeling that a machine, I don't think, can ever replace. But with that being said, the technology out there is getting so advanced. And there's actually a field, I'm learning about it, called artificial emotional intelligence. So I'm not entirely, like I said, familiar with this, but basically the technology that's out there, it uses sensory data, it uses behavioral data, and so for example, there's this startup in Boston, this AI startup, And the technology that they have, it can actually capture facial expressions when a person, say, is looking at an ad. And so in turn, it allows a company to see what people are, how people are really reacting to a particular ad and know their purchase intent. Now, this again doesn't really replace the emotional aspect of it, but it can, I think it can help a marketer better understand how a person is feeling towards a product or service. So AI can actually, I don't think can ever replace it, but be a complement.
So thank you, Joya. This can just go on and on. So as I speak to you, I'm actually reminded of this movie called Robot, I think, Robot 2 or something, starring Rajnikant and the superstar Rajnikant and Aishwarya Rai. So he creates a humanoid, so who actually beats him finally. So it's the robo who wins. He teaches the robo how to love, and the robo falls for Aishwarya Rai. So this is a conversation which can go on and on. So thank you for addressing that, Ronajoy's question. So folks, we are at 7:15 right now, and I think we'll be closing now. Thank you, Joya, for wonderfully handling the Q&A session. And all of you, a big clap to all of you for making this program, today's event, a success. I would like to thank Ashok for wonderfully moderating today's event, and and to adroitly manage the Q&A section also for some time. Also, Joya, once again, a brilliant keynote, crisp yet very useful presentation. And thanks once again to all leaders of Councilsme who are present here. Thanks to Councilsme and to InterraIT for this organizing effort. So thank you, everybody. So in a moment, I will end the meeting for all. Thanks, Joya.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.